Similarly, collaboration. It's very important that it's a team effort, if you will, because obviously you're extending your instance of Epic and supporting that instance of Epic, and then you're receiving that instance and you want to be in it, and you want to make the experience as good as it can be for both sides. Accountability. Are there accountability mechanisms in place? So perhaps something doesn't go to plan. Is there a way to escalate, to hold folks accountable to what was agreed upon? And is there a way set up front so that it's there and it's able to be used and it isn't one of those awkward conversations where you aren't sure where you have to go to escalate? Engagement. So I'm just following the little path there. But engagement, so with engagement, I know we talked about this a little bit before, but making sure that your users and your analysts and the operations, all those areas of your organization are involved and informed is really important. You don't want this to feel like I'm doing this to you or you have to do this. You want that engagement, that involvement, that buy-in up front and throughout the project so that people can voice their opinions, their concerns, or their suggestions so that you can make that project as successful as it can be. With that, of course, comes change management. I know change is everyone's favorite thing, so change is definitely something that needs to be managed, for lack of a better word. So it's important to have those strategies and processes in place so that you can articulate that change. And again, going back to those common goals, really relay why you're doing this, how it relates to your organization's goals, and really help those involved understand what the purpose is and why you're doing it. And at the same time, the next one is realistic expectations. It's important to realize that this is going to be hard for some folks. Maybe they're not super excited to get a new system. Maybe they loved their old system. So it's important to give people that minute or that moment to adjust, because it's not all going to be rainbows. There might be some hiccups along the way. And so it's important to set those expectations, especially if someone was on a system that they really liked. And so to work through with them how the transition is going to go and make sure that they're heard and that you can address their concerns. With all of that as well, governance. So I know that's probably everybody else's favorite word, because governance is very important to any sort of program or project. But with this type of relationship with hosts and sites, it's important that each party understands the governance in play at the other organizations. So you'll have multiple sites potentially, hopefully, that need to be part of the governance program. And again, this goes back to that autonomy piece as well for the sites. So if you are all in one system and you have to maintain one system, that's great. But it does require a certain level of overarching governance to understand what can be changed, what can't be changed, what do the multiple groups have to agree upon, and what's customizable to each individual facility or site or clinic. So ensuring that those governance processes, structures, et cetera, are in place is very important. It's going to look different probably for everybody, but ensuring that they're there and they're working and that they can be tweaked if needed is important to acknowledge. The next one, the commitment to maintain and scale. What I meant by this is Epic is a very robust system, has a lot of excellent functionality, and has a lot of new cool stuff coming out as well. And so you want to make sure that as a site and as a host, you're committed to going forward with that functionality, and you're committed to maintaining it and to adopting it. Now, it doesn't mean you have to adopt it right away as soon as it comes out, but understand that one of the benefits of going with a system like this is all of those features. And so having that commitment to take those new features and then to roll them out as well is important. important. And then the service provider mentality, I know I touched on a little bit. But again, as a host, making sure that you are prepared to have that sort of customer service focus when dealing with the sites is important, because you are now offering a service. You are now tied to that through contract for that service. And so it's important to have that sort of customer mindset when talking with the sites and making sure they're getting what they need. And similarly with the sites, it's important to feel comfortable with your host so that if something is super awesome, you can tell them that. Or if something needs improvement, you can tell them that as well. So it's just important to establish that relationship and ensure those communication lines are open. All right.
So you've decided that you want to either refresh your Connect program, you want to explore becoming a host, want to explore becoming a site. We want to shift gears and chat about some pitfalls throughout the entire process. So in contracting, this is where we want to set expectations in a lot of different areas so everybody starts on the same language, we understand what should happen throughout the process, and we go into it setting ourselves up for success. During implementation, we really want to foster great communication. We want the right information, getting to the right people at the right time, and everybody is as ready for go live as you can be. And then now we're switching into our support model or maintenance mode, kind of realigning those expectations. We just got out of go live. We're shifting gears a little bit, want to make sure everybody understands what that's going to look like, and we continue to foster those communication paths and those relationships. And then circling back to governance, it's going to weave through all of it, making sure that we have that shared governance, we have those escalation paths and processes, and everybody knows what they need to do and how to get their voices heard appropriately. So with that, I want to do a quick poll to talk about and see if the audience is more interested in any of those things than anything else. Don't worry, we will talk about all of them. But just in case anybody has a stronger interest in any of these, want to make sure to hit on that one a little bit harder. So in the Community Connect space, what are you most curious about here?
And as Lindsay said, we are going to talk about all of these, but if there's a specific interest in any of them, we obviously want to know that in order to go more in detail if needed. But there are some options here. I think it should pop up on your screen to be able to select those. So I'll just give everybody a moment to select your option, and then we'll move forward to the next screen to see what your responses are. All right, I'm gonna move forward. So we'll see some of these come in, but looks like we've got a tie for the for the top, 21.6 for 3 of them. Looks like IT support models, upfront and long-term costs, and limited autonomy and configuration control seem to be the top. But again, we'll talk about all of these.
All right, so in the contracting phase, like I mentioned, this is where we're setting expectations. So talking about what does your scope look like? This should be your application scope. What applications would you be extending to the site? Is there an additional cost for those applications? Some Epic things have subscription fees. We want to make sure we understand that cost. And then third parties. Likely as a site, you have a list of third parties you work with today. Are you going to be transitioning all of that functionality into Epic and the host third parties? If you are, who's managing that relationship with those vendors? Do you as a site need to work directly with the vendor?